Hello, it's Rachel and I'm here for my FlossTube update. This time it's for June and July. I didn't make a video in June because, to be perfectly honest, I did hardly any stitching. I was out and about doing the garden and things like that, and yeah, I just didn't feel that I had enough to show. So this is a combined June and July update. So I've only really worked on 3 projects, but the ones I have worked on I've put quite a lot of time into, so hopefully you'll see some significant progress, except on the first one, which has had a little less time. So the first one is the Soda Stitch Pasta Time. This is the pattern, what it's going to look like. And this is where it's at now. So I have worked on this area here, putting in more of the yellow and orange colours. That was for a Magical Stitches challenge, and then I added the white as well onto there. So not too much, but I do plan on working on this one again after this video. So hopefully I'll make some more progress on that one. Then the second one that I worked on was a new start. I did mention in the last couple of videos I was going to start this one, which is Mirabilia Enchanted Mermaid. And so this one has quite a lot of progress, I think. I've just unwound it. It's a little bit creased because of where it's been on the frame, but I've got quite a lot done. The spaces are for the beads. If you're not familiar with this pattern, it's quite heavily beaded, and this section here is all Krynic, but I don't think you're really going to be able to see that. Maybe a little bit. And then I'm just working down towards her tail. And the fabric is one that I dyed myself. It's a 28 count, so I got even weave of some description, or is it Jobelan? It's one of the two. It's either a Brittany or a Jobelan, but it's 28 count. There was one thing I wanted to note on here. My chart is, I'm led to believe by what I've read, is a reprinted chart, and actually I could show you on the actual thing, but I've just taken this off. This is just a scan of the numbers on the chart, and it was from somebody else's video that I discovered 2 of the symbols are identical. So if you look at the symbol, let me see now, for 932 and for 434, I've just written on there's an error. So I got that information from somebody else's video, and it's only on the reprinted charts, I believe. So I think they were reprinted maybe 2 years ago or something. I only bought mine in the last couple of years, so yeah, the symbols are incorrect, but basically the chart is, the actual pattern itself is correct, and it's just that I marked it on here. That's exactly the same symbol but the other way around, if you can see that next to 434. And it's easy enough to tell because one of them is for a hair colour, so it's really obvious that which one goes in a hair when you're actually stitching it. So I just thought I'd mention that in case anybody else has that chart and it's a later reprinted one and it's got that mistake on it. Then the only other one that I've worked on is my Dimensions. Is the pattern. Dimensions Gold Collection 12 Days of Christmas. Last time you saw this, I had completed the top 2 rows, so numbers 1 to 8. I just got onto number 9, but barely made a start on there. And I'm pleased to say that I now have a finish. So this is stitched on the fabric that came with it. It's a 14 count ivory Aida, and I've literally just finished it right now. I substituted the French knots, or most of the French knots, for Mill Hill beads, and if I remember I'll tell you what colour they are in a minute. I did leave some of the French knots in, the ones that are on the postal marks I left those ones in because I thought they look a bit odd if they were beads, but the ones that are berries are all the Mill Hill beads. So I really like how this one came out. It's kind of hard to capture on the camera because anywhere that looks kind of yellowy coloured is actually blended gold. So maybe you can see it on the gold rings because there's more gold in that, but possibly not. You may be able to see that. But in real life it's really pretty. It is also the hardest bit to stitch because it's 2 strands of DMC, or well, not DMC, it's the Dimensions floss, and 2 strands of the gold blending filament, so it can get a little bit tricky in the needle trying to keep everything together, but it's not too bad. It's certainly not as bad as the DMC Light Effects. So it's not the most enjoyable part, but yeah, it was okay. So that is that. I'm just scanning around to see where I put the beads, and I don't think they're anywhere to be seen, but I have mentioned it on a video previously which beads I used. I'll try and remember to put it into the video description just in case anybody's interested, because the match is quite close to the thread colour that should have been used, so it goes with all the other reds in the design, and I did buy a few different reds to test out, so it would save somebody having to do that if I put that in. The only other thing I've got to share really is some shopping. I've bought quite a few kits, which possibly shouldn't, but yeah, I have done, and I'll share those with you. So the first one, I've had an eye on this for a while. I got it from, well, I bought it from eBay, but it came from Russia. And this is RTO Feast from Childhood, and I've seen this one stitched up on Instagram quite a few times, and I really like it. I might substitute the Aida in that possibly. I'm not sure. I don't know what count it is. 16 count. I might leave it as it is, or I could use 32. It's DMC floss, but the numbers are not labelled. So you could, if you had just the chart, maybe you could work those out possibly, but anyway, that's that one. Then this one is by Oven, and it's another one that I've had on my list for a bit because the lace effect is what really drew me in. I just think that's gorgeous. So that should be interesting to stitch. It wasn't too expensive either. I don't think it has a name. Or maybe that's the name. It doesn't seem to go with it. Wish Granting Fairy, it says. I don't know, but the number's 741. And that is on some kind of Aida. I'm not sure it says. It says dark blue canvas number 18. I don't know if that means 18 count or it's just a colour number. I don't know. And then, so these two are Railings Kits, and I had them on my wish list for a while, and they were about £30, I think, £30–35, which was kind of expensive. And then both of them went down in price on Amazon. They've gone back up now, but I think I got one of them for £6 and one of them for £8. So this one here, they've got a printed background as well. which I'll show you. So this was the cheaper one. This was £6, I think. And I have opened them and looked at the printed fabrics. That's what I was interested in. So I'll show you that. So that's the printed background, and it's really pretty. So I think that's going to be really nice when it's done. That's quite colour accurate as well, if you can see what I can see. So that was the stag. I am going to put this away now, sorry. Just because I don't want to have to do it later. Okay. It's 14 count fabric, and it's fair size. They're 11 3/4 by 15 3/4 inches, which is 30 by 40 in centimetres, and this one's the same. So this one here is some cranes in snow, and the fabric for this is really pretty as well. I saw that this one again, I saw this one stitched up on Instagram, and it was really, really nice. So I'm hoping it looks as good as it did, but this is super pretty as well. It's really soft and pretty. It's you can't, I don't know how well it's picking up, but it's kind of very pastel blues and lilacs and whites. So I hope that's quite accurate there. I hope that's picking up as well as it can do, but yeah, that looks super pretty. So they were a real lucky find to find both of them at such a cheap price. And as I say, the price has gone up again now, but things go up and down on Amazon if you keep an eye out. Then this one, another one that's been on my wish list. This is a Dimensions one called Simple Treasures. I just really like the colours on this one. And that's, again, it's 14 count Ada in there. I'll probably keep that because there's not that much white showing. I tend to, if there's a lot of white showing in the background, then I prefer to substitute it, but that's mostly covered. On this little cute one is a panel one, which again I've seen it on Instagram stitched up multiple times, and I've also seen it in when someone's used like a denim blue background, and that was really pretty. But I actually really like this fabric. It's probably not going to show the colour very accurately, but it's like it's a grey, but it's like a warm grey. It's kind of a little bit of brown in it. I don't know how. Oh, that's kind of accurate. So that should be quite a quick stitch, and it's super cute. And I'm not sure what count the fabric is, but I'm going to use it. Yeah, I can't see. But anyway, that's that one. And then another RTO. This again came from Russia. This is Scottish Thistle. And another one that I've seen stitched up. Although I thought it was on a blue background. I thought it was on like a nice blue background, and it's not, it's on grey. So I don't know whether to keep it on the grey or to change it to a nice blue one. But I saw this, if you're not aware, in Russia, I think it's in Moscow, they have like a convention twice a year that's called Formula, and it's all the Russian cross-stitch designers that go there. It's open to the public, from what I gather. I don't speak Russian, so I don't know, because I watch it when it's in Russian. But they have all the big companies like RTO and Oven, and they have like Dimensions there as well. And there's a lot of Dimensions stuff that's only printed in Russia and not anywhere else. But it's really interesting to see all the new designs, and they have a lot of the designers that you find on Etsy as well, I've noticed. So yeah, that one that I saw stitched up through RTO's little booth on Formula. Anyway, that was a long story to say that. I think what I was going to say is, if you want to go and check it out, if you type into YouTube spring formula or autumn formula, they have one in spring and one in autumn. You kind of might need to find the Russian for it though, but if you put in cross stitch formula spring to 2019, or you should find it, and then once you've got it, you can copy and paste the Russian for it. Anyway, so the last one, or the last four, on my previous video I showed some Mereshka designs, and I can't remember whether I mentioned it or not, but I've been wanting the vintage floral series for a while, but I wanted them on linen, not on Ada, because I knew they were available on linen, so I was looking for them, and I couldn't find anybody who had all three of them. And for some reason I had it in my head, if I don't buy them all at the same time from the same person, the linen might be a different dye lot and they won't match. That's, whether there's any truth in that, I don't know, but that's what I had in my head. So I messaged the person I bought the Seasons samplers from and asked her if she could get them, and she said, well, we don't really stock the linen because nobody buys it, they always buy the Ada. But she said, watch this space, I'll contact Mereshka and see if I can get them. Anyway, she did, and she got all three of them, and so I bought them, and they were a much better price as well than if I'd have bought them anywhere else that I've seen them. So I was really pleased with that. So this is the Poppies one, and the linen, I think the colour's cappuccino if I remember rightly. It's used in one of the other ones, but it's like a sandy beigey colour. You can't really see it too well there. Then this is the Vintage Roses. Maybe I'll see the fabric a little better on that one, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's about right actually, colour-wise. Maybe a touch more yellowish than it's shown on. It's not yellow, but if you added a drop of yellow paint to that, what you're seeing, that would be more accurate. And this is the Lilies. I just think all three are beautiful, and they shouldn't take too long to stitch. She says 17 by 30 centimetres. So 17, that's maybe a little more than 6 inches by 12. Yeah, about 6 by 12. And the last one, another Mereshka, and this is Daffodils. And this one isn't on the linen, this is on Ada, but I have a piece of even weave that's almost the same colour, so I think I'll substitute that out. I think it's quite a well-used colour of fabric. So that is everything. I'm going to be continuing with Magical Stitches. That's how I ended up with my Dimensions finish. I'll show you again. I'm so happy with this, honestly. It's taken so long. I started that in, I think it was January 2017. So if I'd have got to this January, it would have been 3 years. So I'm so pleased that it's finished. I've only got 2 more pieces now from 2017, and everything else was started this year. and it's my 5th finish of the year, I think so. I think that's my 5th finish of the year. So I'm going to pick up past the time in a minute. As soon as I've finished in this video, that's going to be my next one to work on for magical stitches. I've got a few challenges. I'm just looking at my sheets. I've got a couple of things for this week's homework, and then about 5 extra credit pieces, but they don't need to be done till the end of August. But they've just introduced, well, I say just, in the last few weeks, they've just introduced more challenges. So there's the ultimate one that I've been working through thinking we've got all year, which we have. But then there's the extreme stitchy challenge, which is not long been posted in the last few weeks. And that's really sparked my interest. Not that I wasn't interested in the others, but yeah, there's some nice challenges in there. There's one where you've got to spell out the different spells. That one quite appeals to me. So you need, if it was, say, Expecto Patronum, you'd have to use E for a design or a pattern or a designer's name or company name, and then X, etc., and work through it. So I think that'd be quite a nice challenge. And then there's one where you can go through all the ultimate challenges again. I don't fancy doing that. And what were the others? I'm looking around. Hang on. I knew I had these bits put together. So yeah, spell out any of the spells or charms listed in the book. You need 1,000 stitches on each letter, but you get 20 points for your house. So that is quite a challenge because it's 1,000 stitches per letter. Then there's choose one whip and put in 10,000 stitches, and you get 10 points per 2,000. That would be quite a good one for trying to finish something. Or stitch your way through the books. So there's a total of 3,047 pages in the books, and you need to do that on one project. And then there's map a book challenge. Pick one of the 7 books. For each chapter, put 25 stitches per page until you finish the book. For example, chapter 1 has 10 pages, so 25 times 10 would be 250 stitches. Then move on to chapter 2, etc. And you can work your way through all the books. So I'm not decided what I want to do yet. I've still got I think 12 of the ultimate challenges to do. I think I've done about half of them, 3 of them being in the last week or so, or 2 weeks. But yeah, I need to finish those first, which may mean, well, it will mean some new starts, but that's okay because I've just finished one project, and I didn't start anything new. What did I finish last time? Oh, my Marjolaine Bastin. I didn't start anything new after that either. So I've got 2 frames free. Not sure what I'm starting yet. I've got a couple of choices, but you'll get to know next month, I guess. Okay, that's everything. Hope you enjoyed seeing my projects, and hope everyone is doing okay. I may check in a little earlier than a month's time because I'm on summer break at the moment, so I'll have a little bit more time for stitching. I think if it's worthwhile checking in, if I've got enough progress, then we'll do that in maybe 2 weeks instead of 4. Otherwise, I will see you next month. Okay, bye bye everyone.